Everything wrong with the Everything wrong with the Ed Gein Netflix show. I just finished watching this, and it is a waste of time. It is a piece of bull crap. That's all it is.
The Ed Gein story is the latest one to feature under Ryan Murphy's umbrella of real-life serial killer monsters that we've now got a Murphy Cinematic Universe on. At the time, Dahmer became one of the most watched TV series ever on the platform when it released in 2022. And last year, with the Menendez brothers having a show about them, it was rather underwhelming as it felt like the darkness that Dahmer embodied wasn't really present. So, with Ed Gein, killer from the 1950s, being selected, I was wondering which direction it would go in. Would it be more on Murphy's animated American Horror Story side, or would it be on the monster side? And sadly to say, it felt like it went down the American Horror Story path, especially when looking at that final serial killer dance scene. With me finishing,
Bro, especially as somebody who doesn't know a lot about these serial killers. No, absolutely nothing. I didn't even know about Jeffrey Dahmer until I watched the show. And even with that, like, I don't know what was factual and what wasn't, because I don't know nothing about his life, but it felt real. Now, I do think they romanticized him. I definitely do. But it's like I had to take a break when watching. I couldn't just consistently watch that show because of how sick it was. With this piece of bullshit, I knew nothing about Ed Gein, nothing about the things that he done. I didn't even know what type of crazy he truly was. When I watched this, I'm sitting here like, what's going on? Why is his final scene him him rolling in a wheelchair with people celebrating and dancing him? I thought he was a psychopath. I thought he was digging people's graves and fucking dead bodies and using their skin. I thought he was sick. Why are we celebrating this madness?
show and being a bit underwhelmed, I wanted to call out why I feel this 8-episode series was a mess and why when compared to the likes of Dahmer, it just didn't quite land the same. Here is why Monster, the Ed Gein story is a mess. The inappropriate nature of the tone. One thing that's often been questioned and criticized when making these shows is that the tone of them ends up getting lost. For example, with Dahmer, we were almost made to feel sorry for him and it humanized him by the end despite the fact that he had 17 victims. With the Menendez brothers, it kind of had the same effect and there was almost a mass outcry for them to be released from prison. And with this one, it kind of followed suit too. There were a few things that I thought the show got wrong with the tone. First off is how they actually made Ed Gein out to be Leatherface on occasions in order to connect him to the movie franchise that was created due to the true events that happened with him. Having him slaughter two men with a chainsaw in the woods after chasing them down, who it isn't actually confirmed that he killed by the way, in order to drive up the kill count in the show and then have him dancing around with the chainsaw due to excitement. It just felt like something that was over the top, animated, and just a bit wrong.
So that was just doing shit. It was literally just doing shit. It was just making up stories, stuff that he didn't even do. And if you don't know no better, I didn't know nothing about this man. I'm just assuming that everything that they're showing me is true. Now, some things you can kind of pick up on and be like, okay, this obviously probably didn't happen. But the killings, we learned about him killing people? Oh my god.
When making these shows, I always feel like the fact that these killers were real people is something that needs to be at the heart of it to keep us grounded, respectful, and understand that evil lives among us. However, with that scene, it just took me out of it completely, and we might as well have been watching a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
This didn't even feel like a depiction of a real person. I genuinely, like, if I just walked in on somebody watching this, I would just assume that this is just a regular show. It's not based on true events or a true person. That's how fake this felt when watching. There was no connection to Eddie. I know he has schizophrenia. Nigga, I thought I had schizophrenia. Wasn't none of this shit real.
The movies were based on him, which is fine to say and show, but that was just too over the top as he embodied the character. Another thing that the show did that I thought was rather odd was that they tried to make us feel sorry for him by the end of the final episode, showing us that he was a soft, kind, and obedient man when he was in the hospital and on medication to ease his schizophrenia, basically blaming everything that he did on that. Whilst the true accounts say that he was a relatively quiet individual and would follow orders when in the hospital, it was also said that he was still into some strange things whilst he was there, and he remained psychologically disturbed. So that kinda got lost, and it felt like they almost wanted us to see him as this frail old man that was kind and remorseful now. This man was a sick individual who carved up 2 women, made furniture out of them, and also did the same for bodies that he dug up from their graves. Pair that with the fact that he's also rumoured to have killed even more. This isn't a man we should be humanising or feeling sorry for. The final nail in the coffin for me when it came to the inappropriate tone though was the serial killer Avengers that we had formed right at the end, where the likes of Manson, Kemper, Speck, Bundy and Brudos were there, just dancing around Ed Gein as he went into the afterlife. Along with that, the dance party that was taking place just felt so confusing. It almost felt like this show didn't know whether it wanted to stick with realism throughout it and be as realistic as possible like it tried to do with Dharma and really lean into that darkness, or incorporate things that just felt strange and weird.
I think what they tried to do was, okay, he has schizophrenia and he doesn't know what's real. He thinks he's doing things that he's not doing, or he's just confused overall. So I think they tried to portray that through the film. As a viewer, they want you to also question, is this real, is it not? I guess to break into his mind a little bit, but it just wasn't executed properly at all because nothing felt real. Nigga, I don't even know if I watched the show. Did I, nigga? I don't know. I would rather not.
I know he suffered from a mental illness, and the visual representation of that was all of the things that we were seeing, but I just don't think it was needed. Dharma was the closest the show has ever been to showing us a fully fledged monster, and this had the potential to do that, really leaning into the darkness that was within his mind, but it's like it was almost used as a prop. I actually think the first episode was a perfect example of how the direction of the show should have gone. It was relatively dark, it didn't have any of the strange hallucination scenes that felt so different to what we were watching, and it felt like we were understanding the mind, motivation, and background of how Ed Gein came to be this sick individual that he
Like, if y'all want him to be a monster and portray it as such, why are y'all having this nigga break down in women's clothing like he's in a music video? What is going on, bro? This show pissed me off so much, bro.
was. So it's a shame that it got a bit lost over time. The inaccuracies. With a show like this, I feel it has to be accurate. This guy was real, he killed real people, and his story is something that's disgusting and dramatic enough that a dramatization of the real figure and what he did doesn't need to happen. This show was full of inaccuracies when it came to the likes of Adeline and Ed's relationship together, the killing that Ed did of the babysitter, Evelyn and the 2 men in the woods, which aren't confirmed. As well as that, his involvement in helping uncover Ted Bundy as this serial killer wasn't true. Even him receiving letters from Richard Speck. Him killing his brother also isn't confirmed either. It's been speculated that it was him, but it wasn't confirmed, so I thought it was strange that they just ran with it that way. It's almost as if the show was just increasing the kill count to make Ed seem like a far more dangerous individual, when in reality, he was a monster. They didn't need to add in all of these inaccuracies and extra killings to bulk out the story. The fake Adeline story. Adeline was a character that I didn't mind at the start, but as the episodes went on...
But I hope Adeline wasn't really like that. She was the real monster. That girl had problems. Oh my lord. And they definitely wasn't accurate with her. They definitely wasn't accurate. Watch this. Damn, how you spell Adeline? Adi.
Girlfriend. Real life. Bro.
Okay, this is also crazy. Ed Gein did not have a real girlfriend, but the character of Adeline Watkins in the Netflix series The Monster Ed Gein Story is based on a real woman who told the police that she was his fiance before retracting her statement. So we don't even know if that was his girlfriend. Great. Another thing, this girl is hideous. This girl is fucking hideous. Okay? Maybe back then in the 50s, 40s, wherever, she was a 6'7", maybe. And I don't like milk. So I'm not even saying the person portraying her looks good to me. But generally, she's way more attractive than her. Y'all should have got an average white girl to play her. I'm like, okay, Adeline must have been straight in real life. No. And look at this nigga. Respectfully, like, the nigga who played Ed Gein, he's a nice looking guy. This nigga is hideous too. This nigga is hideous. In his hairline. That nigga was like 80 years old. He still had a perfect hairline. They just spray painted his hair gray. I didn't understand that. He didn't even look old. It just looked like they spray painted his hair gray. I don't know how old he is in this picture, but I just feel like we gotta do better. Netflix, it was a disgrace watching this. It was disgraceful.
I started doing some research. It just turned out that everything we were watching from her was basically fabricated and pointless because it didn't actually happen. It feels like this entire section with Adeline and the romantic relationship was created based off of one small interview that Adeline did, but she later ended up retracting. Instead, when she came out with what she said was the truth, which was that she was only with Ed for around 7 months on and off, and she never once entered the house, it just made the story of her telling him to be intimate with the bodies extremely strange, and it held no truth whatsoever. Don't get me wrong, as a character, she was interesting to follow, but it's like this character doesn't represent the true person. So I thought it was just a bit strange shoehorning her in when there wasn't much on record about her even being involved with Ed and the bodies and the killings in any way whatsoever. Even episode 5, where we branched off and watched her time in New York, it was something that I just wasn't really interested in and had no true relation to the story. If anything, it felt like that was done because they needed more story to fill up the runtime, as episode 5 and 6 felt quite light of Ed Gein as it mainly focused on the previous time periods. So, to be honest, most of Adeline's story could have been cut, and I wouldn't have minded because I just didn't really care.
Oh my gosh, that's another thing. Towards the end of the show, the last couple episodes, we not even talking about Ed Gein no more. I'm watching niggas, I don't even know if I can say this on YouTube. I'm watching niggas get clapped in jail, and we just relating it to that nigga. I said, what? What am I watching? Bro, the director, whoever had parts in making it, whoever acted in it, the producers, Netflix, get them all fired. I get what they trying to do. Like, oh, he inspired other killers. Nigga, that's not a good thing. They was making it seem like him being an inspiration and motivation for other people to do the exact same thing was positive. Y'all are weird to me. We need to dive into the directors, the producers, everybody who had parts in making this. We need to see what y'all doing. What y'all doing behind closed doors? Why y'all keep romanticizing this just for a story? I'm gonna still watch the next one. But y'all better not be on that bullshit.
The multiple stories and its lack of focus. Now, I don't know about you, but when I tune in to watch a show about Ed Gein, I'm watching it because I want to learn about him and see exactly what he did. We got that, but at the same time, there was a large chunk of the runtime that was given to Alfred Hitchcock creating Psycho, Anthony Perkins battling with his secret of being gay, Tobe Hooper creating the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Adeline's story, which I touched on, and also Ilsa Koch, who was being viewed as the inspiration for Ed Gein. In my opinion, it took up far too much screen time than what it needed to. Don't get me wrong, I thought the commentary about society changing and its fascination in serial killers and the spin on the horror genre was interesting, because as much
I actually didn't hate the Alfred Hitchcock scenes. I didn't hate that simply because like I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know he was an inspiration to these type of films and cinema. And you know, I'm a film geek myself, so I mean that was actually pretty cool to me.
it was present back then.
The other shit, no.
It's still present now because of the way that we wait for these types of shows to come out, but it just felt like it took too much away from the Ed Gein story in my opinion. The jumping around became a bit jarring, and there also wasn't really any resolution with the likes of Hitchcock or Perkins, which I thought was a bit strange because they got a massive focus during the first few episodes. I understand why they were included, but I would have preferred it if again it stuck to the realism side of things and didn't have the cuts to other timelines, the hallucinations that Perkins was having, and also the on-the-nose reference to how society was changing when realistically we could pick up on that ourselves. It felt like the show was almost talking to us in a way and justifying our interest due to the backlash that Murphy faced over creating these types of shows and the fascination that we as an audience have had with them. So I wasn't the biggest fan of that. By constantly cutting away, I feel like we'd be away from the Ed Gein story for large chunks of time, and it ultimately disrupted the flow of the show and just made it feel less immersive to a degree. It was also disruptive because it wasn't consistent. Right at the beginning, there was a large focus on Ilsa Koch and how Ed was inspired by her and wanted to be her, when in reality, that wasn't the case at all. But then it just sort
That was fake too. Y'all had this bald Nola Pavan girl in the movie, in the show, almost the whole. Bro, she kept popping up, and I'm sitting here like, who is she? Why is she so important? And she's not. Yo, just
of faded during the midpoint in the season until it showed her death. I'd even say the Ted Bundy one at the start of the final episode. It wasn't needed because Ed Gein never helped uncover Ted Bundy, but in a show where there was lots of movement, I just found myself questioning where it was that we'd end up. My conclusion. Overall, I think the show was a bit of a mess. I think it started well with the tone that it established and the direction that I thought it was going to go in. But over time, it just became a bit of a fever dream, and by the end of it, when you look at this shot, you're almost questioning if you're watching the same show as when it started, or even the same series that Dharma's a part of. I don't think Dharma will be bettered by any other series that falls under the Monster umbrella. It was different at the time, it was heavy, it was dark, and the environment just felt so real. Ed Gein had potential, but I feel it failed to deliver, which is a real shame. I'm on the fence about whether or not I think it's better than the Menendez Brothers show. Overall, I'd say I probably preferred the Menendez Brothers depiction, so that puts this installment in last place. So, there you have it, why Monster the Ed Gein story is a mess.
this was another thing too they lied about. The old woman that he was cracking. Oh yeah, Bernice Warden. Oh, don't get me started on his mama. Oh my gosh, she the real monster too. Now I believe I believe his mother was actually like that. I believe that probably was accurate. People have been using religion as a way of power over people for so long. My lord. Bro, you telling me. Yeah, Donna, I think this is her. You telling me Eddie was cracking this. That's what you trying to tell me. Eddie was cracking this. I look it up. It was talking about. It was saying that they didn't even have a romantic relate. She was only 58. Oh my gosh. Bernice Warden was the owner of a hardware store whom Ed Gein murdered in 1957. Gein's crimes, including the murder of Warden, gained widespread after authorities discovered his acts of grave robbing and body snatching. Gein confessed to killing Warden as well as Tarvin owner Mary Hodgen, both of whom he killed in the years leading. No, what was his relation? Were they intimate, romantic? Yep. The story painted a romantic picture between Gein and Warden prior to her murder, but there is no evidence that the two ever dated. In fact, Gein reportedly never had a sexual experience because his mother, who was deeply religious and preached often about the innate immorality of women, and condemned it. Okay, so none of that was true either. Mind you, we're talking about almost the whole show is being pushed about sex, romance, dating, all of this stuff. The entire show. You have to look it up. Because if not, you just gonna think this shit real. You look it up, and you realize none of this even happened. That old woman, that hideous old woman, God rest her soul, he never cracked her. He never cracked her. What was the point of doing all of that? Why did y'all force me to watch stuff that never happened? None of this felt real. None of it.
What did you think of this series? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.
Don't break my heart, Eddie.
I won't, Mother.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today, aficionados. That is entirely fictional. In reality, Gein died in 1984, long before the full scope of Bundy's serial murders
They lied about his death too? Oh my gosh!
was understood or resolved. Bundy was arrested in 1978. tried in the early 1980s and executed in 1989. No credible source ties Gein to any Bundy case assistance.
He's a loner, this man. When you're alone too much.
See, mind you, that mean that they was lying about this nigga solving cases, helping detectives find people just like him, to help boost him up, to help make him seem more human, to help make him seem like just me and you. He wasn't that bad of a guy. He was a sweet old man who just, took the skin off of people's bodies and put it on furniture. He wasn't that bad, really. We gotta get these niggas out of here.
Tell me how.
This is the backbone of Gein's criminal record, and Netflix's portrayal largely respects the historical record. After his 1957 arrest, Gein confessed to exhuming the corpses of women who had resembled his deceased mother, then using skeletal parts, skulls, skin, and organs to fashion household objects and garments.
You're dead,
So
Charlie.
that was true.
Girlfriend, you're gonna like it.
Number 4. Ed Gein was in a relationship with Bernice Worden. Wrong.
We just got that
You're
right.
always such a bright light.
He was cracking that old woman. Cracking that shit in the show.
Walking in here.
Now, he probably was doing something with them dead bodies. He probably was.
This is hard enough.
Number 4. Ed Gein was a babysitter. Right.
Oh, hell no. I was hoping that was fake. That's what I was hoping was real. If you think a nigga weird, don't have him around your kids. If you just feel the nigga weird, don't even have him around your kids, bro. I don't see how you could be like, oh yeah, he's really strange. There's something off about him. But here's my child. Huh?
Number 1. Ed Gein was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Right.
There's a reason that you hear voices. There's a reason that you see things that aren't there. Well, you can't remember things you did, and you...
That nigga said, the doctor told that nigga, he said, Ed, you got schizophrenia. That nigga said, I got skedaddle. That's how I knew he was crazy.